All right. Good morning, students. How is it going? How have you been? Hope you've been enjoying yourselves during this corona lockdown. Okay, we thank God for life. Thank God that you are still alive. I give God the glory. Okay. All right. So due to the lockdown, we decided to start an online class, even though we are starting it late, but it's still important. Okay. I hope you are ready. Okay. All right. So whatever is going on, we must learn. Learning is important. So we'll not, because of the coronavirus pandemic, we remain at home doing nothing. No, it's time to learn. So be ready and make sure you are there with your writing materials to put down whatever you need to put down. Okay. All right. Welcome once again. So in this first class, we want to look at tenses. Okay, that's our topic for today. Tenses, and under tenses, we look at the simple present and the simple past tenses. Okay, the simple present and the simple past tenses. Okay, so our objectives for today is number one, we have to learn to define tense. Number two, we have to learn to identify the uses of the simple present tense. Number three, we have to identify the uses of the simple past tense. Okay? All right, before we look at tenses, let's have a recap of verbs, because you can't talk about tenses without talking about verbs. Okay? All right. A verb is said to be a word that is used to show action or state of being. So if you're asked to define a verb, you define it as a word that is used to show action or state of being. Most students usually define a verb as an action word and they stop there. That's not complete. You have to complete it. It shows action or state of being. All right? So when you say that, you have given a full definition of a verb. Okay, from the definition, we said action and state of being. What are action verbs? They are simply the verbs that express action, that show that someone is doing something, okay? Or some action is taking place. For example, the verbs you see there on the screen: walk, run, ride, sit, stand, fight, laugh, read, play, listen, cry, think, and other ones, okay? Sing, etc. Okay, you know them. Those verbs are called what? They are called action verbs because they are used to show action, okay? All right, so let's see also state of being verbs. They are verbs that don't show action. They don't show any action. They only indicate states of being, okay? As the name implies, state of being, the way things are at the moment. Those are states of being, okay? The examples are there: am, as, are, was, were, being, been, be. They're all states of being verbs. Okay? All right. You have examples of the state of being verbs. Some of them, other examples in sentences. You have Humphrey is scared. The cat is talented. They are hungry. So the highlighted verbs there are the state of being verbs. The first one is, second one is, the third one are. Okay? And the next one, he seems strong. He seems strong. Seems is a state of being verbs because it expresses the way the person, okay, the person's state at the moment. Then you have also Humphrey looks frightened. Looks there is a state of being. It's not an action. It's not an action. Okay? All right. Unless you are talking about someone looking at you, that is an action. But the verb here, looks, in this sentence, Humphrey looks frightened, is not an action. It's a state. Okay? All right. He feels proud. That's the next one. He feels proud. Feels is what? A state of being. It's not an action. Okay? Because it just says how someone's state is. Okay? It's not what the person is doing. All right? Okay? The next one, the bears appear happy. Appear is what? A state. The state of the bears. Okay? They have the cow is strong. Okay, is a state of being. So that's about state of being verbs. Okay, so when you are asked to define verbs, you see that the verb is a word that shows what? Action and state of being. Action verbs indicate action, or they express action, but state of being verbs express the state of things at the moment. Okay. All right, let's go back to tenses, okay? As I said earlier, you should understand that we can't talk about tenses without talking about verbs. That was the reason why we briefly looked at verbs before continuing with our discussion of tenses, okay? Because when we talk about tenses, it's the verbs that tell us the tenses of sentences. Without the verbs, you can't have tenses. Okay, all right. Okay, so what is a tense? When we talk about tense, what is it? Can anyone tell me? Can you tell me? Yeah, I know you can tell me. Yeah? All right, so what's the tense? What's the tense? A tense is simply the form taken by a verb to show the time of an action. A tense is simply the form taken by a verb to show the time of an action. As simple as that, okay? Verbs usually take different forms to show when actions took place. When an action takes place, the verb will change its form to tell you that the time that that action took place, okay? So that's what we mean by tense. That is, when we say that somebody did something, we can easily discern the time the person did what he or she did from the tense of the verb used. So that's why we say that without the verb, you can't tell the tense. Okay? Hope you understand what the tense is now. It is the form taken by a verb to show what? The time of an action. Thank you very much. All right? Okay, so let's go to categories of tenses. Okay, we have two main categories of tenses. The first is the present tense. Number two is the past tense. Some persons do add the future tense, but there is no really a future tense in that form, that aspect, because the verb cannot change its form to show that an action happened in the future. Okay, an action can happen in the future. The future is yet to come. Okay, so that's why we don't bother about the future tense. But you can add shall or will to indicate what will happen in future, but that's not a tense. Okay, all right, so we have the present tense and what? The past tense. They are the two categories of tenses. Okay, so from these two main categories, we have other subcategories such as simple present, simple past, present continuous, present perfect, etc. Those are the other subcategories under, okay, from the present tense and the past tense. Okay, so we have other subcategories, but today we want to look at the simple present and the simple past. Just those two, okay? Those are what we are going to discuss today, all right? So when we say the simple present, we're talking about the present tense, okay? When we say the simple past, we're talking about the past tense, okay? Okay, so let's now focus on the simple present tense. As I said in the objectives, we want to see the uses of the simple present tense. When you know the uses, you now know how to use the simple present tense correctly. Some students don't know how to use the simple present tense correctly, okay? But I'm sure that you will know how to use it after this class, okay? All right. So how can we use the simple present tense? We use it as follows. Number one, we use the simple present tense to express the idea that an action is repeated or is usual. Okay? I said to express the idea that an action is repeated or is usual. So when you want to express the idea that an action is repeated, okay, an action usually takes place, you use what? The simple present tense, okay? All right, let's see the examples. Number one, I play football. I play football. What's the verb? Play. Thank you. You can see it's underlined. I play football. So play in this sentence is in the simple present tense. Why? Because playing football is a hobby to me, okay? It's something I often do, something I usually do. So I use the simple present tense, play. I play football. All right. The next one, what's the next one? Read it for me. Okay, thank you. She plays tennis. She plays tennis. What's the verb? Plays. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. You can see now that the verb plays has an S in the front. Okay. But the first sentence has play. There's no S. Why? It is because the second sentence has a singular subject, which is what? She. She agrees with the singular verb plays. But the first sentence uses I, even though it's singular, but I always goes with a plural verb, okay? Okay, that by the way. So number two says, she plays tennis. Plays is the verb. And what's the tense of the verb? It's in the simple present tense. Why? Because it's what she always does, okay? She usually does it. So we use the simple present tense, okay? The next sentence, read it. Thank you. She always forgets her bag. What's the verb? Forgets. Thank you. And it's in the simple present tense, indicating that forgetting her bag is what she is fond of doing. When you are fond of doing something, you use the simple present tense to indicate it, okay? All right. We'll go to the next one. What's the next sentence? Read it. Want to go? Thank you. The earth circles the sun. The earth circles the sun. What's the verb there? Circles. And it is underlined, okay? And it's in the simple present tense, okay? The earth circles the sun. That means it continues like that, okay? The earth keeps on circling the sun. It's usually like that, okay? Okay, the last sentence there is what? We learn every day. We learn every day. Something we always do. Something we do daily, okay? So learn is the verb and it's in the what? Simple present tense. Thank you very much. So when you want to indicate an action that usually happens, you use the simple present tense. The second use of the simple present tense is to express facts or generalizations. When you want to express facts. You want to say something that is a fact or something that is a known generalization. You use what? The simple present tense. Examples. Number 1, cats like milk. That's a fact. Cats like milk. Okay? If you want to find out what is the fact, get some milk and give it to a cat. You see what happens. You don't take your mom's milk. Okay? Cats like milk. The verb there is what? Like. And it's in the simple present tense. Okay? Alright, the next one. Accra is the capital of Ghana. Accra is the capital of Ghana. What's the verb? Is. Thank you. And it's in the simple present tense. Okay? Alright. The last one there is what? Read it. Want to go? Thank you. Dogs are carnivores. Dogs are carnivores. Are is the verb which is in the simple present tense. Thank you. So that's number 2. We use the simple present tense to do what? To express facts or generalizations. Thank you. Number 3, we use the simple present tense to talk about scheduled events in the near future. Events that will happen in the near future, scheduled to happen. Okay? We use the simple present tense. Okay? Examples. What's the first sentence? The train leaves tonight at 6 p.m. Thank you. Can see the verb. What's the verb? Leaves. Okay? You can also say the train will leave tonight. Okay? But we are looking at the simple present tense without any support. Okay? So the train leaves tonight at 6 p.m. That means at 6 p.m. the train is going to leave. Okay? Alright, so leaves is in the simple present tense. Okay? Alright, number 2. Let's read together. 1 to go. The game starts at 8 o'clock. Again. The game starts at 8 o'clock. Thank you. So what's the verb there? Starts. And starts is in the simple present tense. It tells you the scheduled time, that there's a time scheduled for the game to start. Okay? Alright. The last sentence says, let's read together. 1 to go. The plane lands at 2 p.m. Again, the plane lands at 2 p.m. What's the verb? Lands. Okay, thank you. So lands is in the simple present tense because it talks about the scheduled time for the plane to land. So that's number 3, use of the simple present tense. What is it? To talk about scheduled events in the near future. All right. Number 4 now. Number 4 says we use it to do what? To express the state of things or someone at the moment. The state of things or the state of someone at the moment. Examples. Number 1. I am here now. That's my state. I am here now. What's the verb? Am. And it's in the simple present tense. Okay? Number 2. She is not here now. She is not here now. What's the verb? Is. Thank you. And it's in the simple present tense. All right. The next one. He needs help right now. He needs help right now. What's the verb? Needs. And it's in the simple present tense because that's the state. He states right now. He needs. All right. The next sentence says, 1 to go, let's read it. He does not need help now. That's a negative sentence, negative part of The third sentence there is negative form. When you have does not, okay? But it's still same thing, but in the negative. He does not need help right now. Okay, so does not need, okay, together express the state of things or his state at the moment. Okay, all right. The last one is what? They are happy. What's the verb? Are, and it's in the simple present tense, telling us their state at the moment. Okay, so that's number 4. We use the simple present tense to do what? To express the state of things or someone at the moment. Okay, all right. Let's see the next one. The simple past tense. We are through the simple present tense. Okay, so what about the simple past tense? It talks about the past. Okay, what happened in the past? So how do we use the simple past tense? Number 1, we use the simple past tense to do what? To express the idea that an action started and finished at a specific time in the past. Okay, we use it to do what? To express the idea that an action started and finished at a specific time in the past. Okay, examples: I saw a movie yesterday. I saw a movie yesterday. What's the verb? Saw. Okay, and it's in the simple past tense because the time that the person that I saw the movie was what? Yesterday. It happened at a specific time. Okay, in the past. All right. Number 2, last year I did what? I traveled to London. Don't ask me that I traveled though. Okay, last year I traveled to London. What's the verb? Traveled, and it's in the simple past because it has been accomplished. It happened in the past at a specific time last year. Okay, all right. The third example says what? He washed his car. He washed his car. What's the verb? Washed, and it's in the simple past because it was accomplished at a specific time in the past. Okay, so that's the first use of the simple past tense. What is it? To express the idea that an action started and finished at a specific time in the past. Okay, number 2 says what? To express, the simple past tense is used to express a duration which started and stopped in the past. To express a duration which started and stopped in the past. Examples: I lived in Lagos for 2 years. I lived in Lagos for 2 years. It happened in the past for 2 years. Okay, what action happened? Lived. I lived. Okay, lived is the verb that is in the simple what? Past tense. Thank you. Number 2, Sarah studied French for 5 years. Sarah studied French for 5 years. What's the verb? Studied, and it's in the simple past tense, expressing the fact that Sarah studied French for a particular period of time, which is what? 5 years. Okay, all right. Next one, we talked on the phone for 30 minutes. We talked on the phone for 30 minutes. Talked is what? The verb in the simple past. Okay, telling us an action that took place for a particular period of time in the past, 30 minutes. Okay, all right. Let's go to the third use of the simple past tense, which is what? We use it to describe a habit which stopped in the past. To describe a habit which stopped in the past. A habit that stopped in the past. Examples: I studied French when I was a child. I studied French when I was a child. Studied is the verb in the simple past, okay? Telling us that that was what the person did, the child, I did when I was a child, okay? All right, number 2, he played the violin. He played the violin. Played is the verb in the simple past, telling us that the person played the violin, okay? All right, the last one, they skipped classes. They never went to school, okay? Sorry, the they there is a mistake. There should be Y, okay? There should be Y there, so make sure you write it. T-H-E-Y, not T-H-E. That is a mistake, okay? All right? Just like the first word, they. That's how the other one should be. They skipped classes. They never went to school. So correct the they, add a Y to it, okay? So skipped is the verb in the simple past. And it tells us a habit, okay, of some particular persons in the past, okay? All right. So that's that with the uses of the simple past, okay? So today we've looked at the simple present and the simple past, okay? The simple present and the simple past. And we started by looking at verbs, okay, as words used to show action or state of being, okay? And we also saw the examples of action verbs and examples of state of being verbs, okay? All right. Then we went on to look at tenses, okay? And we said that the tense is what? A word. You said that tense is what? The form taken by a verb to show the time of an action. The form a verb takes to tell us when an action took place. And we said that we have 2 categories of tenses. Number 1, present tense. Number 2, past tense. Then we have other subcategories of tenses like the simple present, simple past, present continuous, present perfect, past perfect, etc. But today we only looked at the simple present and the simple past, and we looked at the uses of the simple present tense, okay? Number 1, we say that we use it to express the idea that an action is repeated or is usual. Number 2, to express facts or generalizations. Number 3, to talk about scheduled events in the future. Number 4, to express the state of things or someone at the moment, okay? Then we looked at also the use of the simple past tense. We said that we use the simple past tense to do what? To express the idea that an action started and finished at a specific time in the past. Number 2, we use the simple past to express a duration which started and stopped in the past, okay? And thirdly, we use the simple past tense to describe a habit which stopped in the past, okay? So that's that with our lesson for today. You are free now to ask your questions, okay? Using your Google Class app, okay? You have the space there for chatting. You can chat me up with your questions and your questions will be answered, okay? So do chat me up. I will answer your questions before we end the class. Whatever I don't understand, okay? Whatever I don't understand in the lesson on the simple present and the simple past, you are free to ask your questions now so that you can be clarified and so that you won't have any confusions, okay? All right. Thank you very much. I'm expecting your questions, okay? Before we call it a day and wait in our next class. So, your questions right now. Thank you.